Hola, my name is Hector Aponte, and I often get asked, what ethnicity are you? Or what nationality you associate with? And I have a hard time answering that sometimes, mainly because I don't know how I want to answer. My mother's side, my grandparents on my mom's side, came from the Azores, fluent in Portuguese, and they don't speak much English. They live downstairs, and I get to speak with them often. And sometimes we speak in Portuguese, sometimes we speak in English, depending on what we're talking about. Although they have limited English, sometimes I understand, and I mainly understand what they're saying in Portuguese because I've been around it for so long. On my dad's side, they're Puerto Rican, but my grandmother is a mix of nationalities, mainly from what I've heard and what I recall, European. So sometimes I don't know how I want to answer that because I think listing off what I know would just be too long of a list. So for that fact and aspect, I just say that I'm Portuguese and Puerto Rican, and I associate with those two cultures the most, and I love them and how different they are sometimes. But recently, what I've noticed is I don't know everything about them. I keep learning things. I go through photo albums, talk with my grandparents, going through things. There are things that I never knew about them, or their cultures, what they did when they were younger. And I think as I'm growing older, I'm starting to figure these things out more and starting to figure out where I fall into it, where I fall within my culture, and how not only am I different, but how we share some things. So recently, I was able to go down last summer to Florida to spend time with my grandparents. And when I went, a majority of my family on my dad's side lives down there. And I was able to figure out and understand and learn so much about my family that I just never knew. Um, a couple years back, I went to the Azores with my mom and my aunt, and saw things, saw where they used to live, the villages, what they did, and I never knew, but I kind of understood. I kind of started to understand what they grew up like, what their culture to them at that point was, and I think as we grow older, as time progresses, the cultures tend to shift, but there's still some core aspects that we hold on to. Um, for a majority of my life, I kind of am now starting to think that I kind of feel a little bit disconnected because I never understood or got to ask them these things. 'Cause I never knew them. I never knew what I didn't know. So now that I think about it, um, I'm starting to be more intrigued. I'm starting to figure out where I fit in these cultures and with my own family. Not that I've ever been disconnected from my family, but I'm starting to figure out that we share some things, but the culture is also shifting to my generation, to the generation above me. Um, the generations are adapting the cultures to their environments, what they do on a daily basis, and they're changing. Not necessarily for the better or worse, but they're just changing. Um, I don't have too many cousins that are my age, but both my parents have a ton of cousins that are about their age. So their culture is a little bit different than what I'm going through. I'm also an only child. Both my parents have siblings. I have two aunts. Um, and I'm not. I don't have that. So it's kind of different. And I find it interesting to think about how what I'm learning and what I'm going through culturally and trying to figure out what I want to be. For a majority of my life, I spoke Portuguese mainly because my grandparents spoke Portuguese, and that would help me bring me to places and do a lot of things. So I kind of needed to learn it to fit in, to kind of understand how I needed to live at that time, what I needed to say to them, how I got their attention. But then when I started taking Spanish, I kind of lost that. Um, Not all of it. I still completely understand Portuguese. I completely understand Spanish. I can write Spanish. I can speak Spanish a little bit better than I can speak Portuguese. I can't read Portuguese at all. Maybe some words, but definitely learning Spanish is amazing, um, because it's kind of a mix of both cultures. Because my grandparents downstairs who speak Portuguese understand Spanish, so it's kind of interesting to see that although times are changing, some things still stay the same. And I'm just enjoying trying to figure out who I am and what legacy I'm going to bring on. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I hope you stay healthy and take care.